him for advanced math, is what they called it back then. It was sort of a hybrid of calculus and pre-calculus kind of topics. And I mean, that's been so long, but what I remember of that class was he was the first math teacher to make us read a book, and it was Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is a pretty popular book, you know, as far as that. But I remember as a senior having to sit there and read that book.
I had him as a teacher. He was my honors pre-calc teacher. That was right around the time that they first started doing the river project with him and Dave Hazley. It was, yeah, I wouldn't even call it a pond. It was like a goldfish pond. And that's what we did to integrate biology and pre-calculus. Ask him all the time, like, when are we ever going to do this? And his favorite line was, you never know if somebody's going to come up with a bazooka in the street and hold a bazooka to your back and tell you that you need to cite certain things. I know nowadays you probably couldn't say that.
With pre-calc, when we started the unit circle, I could expect this. Have you ever seen Lion King? At the beginning of the Lion King, when he goes, yeah, Mark would play the Circle of Life, and he'd play it so loud that I'd be like, oh, I'm dreading this, Dave. Because all I would have is the Circle of Life running through my head, because in every period he would do that. And so for 1 year, I just made up the fact that I had a test in my class. I'm like, Mark, you're going to have to keep it down. I have a test.
Like, you know, kissing makes babies, and what's a hen weigh?
Yeah, kissing make babies, right. That's right.
Things. I mean, the kissing make babies things, I've heard that 1,000 times.
Loved hearing him talk about kids kissing in the hallway, like stay away from each other, it's going to make babies, and it would just kind of make my day to hear that.
So Mark LaPille and I, at some point in the game, we both had these African hissing cockroaches. And I'm not even sure where they came from, but he decided that he was just going to stockpile them in a fish tank in his classroom, and he would throw some broccoli and whatever in there every once in a while. And
when I was next to Mark in room 107, he had his hissing cockroaches. Well, there's probably nothing more that I hate in the world, and I'm serious. And he loved to send them into my room 1 year with a Bush sign on his back during an election year.
Now, most of you know Mark as a brilliant math teacher, but what some of you might not know, with names, not so good. You know, every summer we would go to UC camp, and this would give us a chance to learn the players. We would have the 8th graders going to be freshmen, or the freshmen going to be reserve. It would give us a chance to learn their names, their skills, etc. Well, Mark, sometimes with names, you know, struggled a little bit. So we decided we needed to help him. So during the course of a game, as he was out coaching and we were back sitting on the bench, he would turn around and ask us, he would say, what's Ingram's first name? Well, we would say, James, like the award Grammy-winning artist. Or he would say, what's Foreman's first name? And we would say, oh, it's George, like the heavyweight boxing champion. Well, Mark would turn around and he would start saying, good shot, George, good shot. And of course, the kids would be looking at him as they're running down the floor like, who's he talking to? What's he talking about? And then, of course, he would look at us like they're kind of, you know, looking at me funny. And we're like, we would just say, way to go, George, way to go, George. So it wasn't, I think, later in that game that one of the boys during the timeout said, my name's not James, it's Trent. And he goes, oh, okay. So when the kids went back out, he looked at us and said, he said his name's Trent. And we're like, oh, is it really? We must be wrong, we're sorry. So we thought we were caught, but not quite yet. Well, then the next game, we had a young kid named Cooper, last name of Cooper, playing for us. And Mark turned around and said, what's Cooper's first name? Well, I mean, how could we not, right? It's Alice, Alice Cooper. Well, Mark turns back around and starts to yell out Alice. Then he realizes he's been had. Then he turns back around to us, and of course by this time we're rolling on the floor.
Mark was my JV basketball coach, and then when I took over the head job, he coached with me for a couple of years. So I know he was pretty pumped when he finally got his 200th win, working as the JV coach for me. And we went out afterwards because it was basically his retirement. That was the season. That was his last season, was getting that 200th win.
Yeah, I was going to say, just going to miss him a lot, especially in the lunchroom and walking into the copy room and hearing, "Having fun yet?" That's my favorite thing to hear, so I'm going to miss him a lot.
There was a time when I had an opportunity to leave Little Miami and go to another school district, and I talked to Mark about it a lot, and he ultimately helped me make the decision to stay here, but walked me through that process, which at that time was probably the most difficult decision professionally I would have had to make, and personally, because I have so many good friends here, including Mark. And so I'm just grateful for that relationship and all the support that he has always given to me.
Lunch. He would pack his lunch on the weekend, and he'd have it all ready for the week. So when he would come in, he'd slap his sandwich together, and then he would throw his baggies away. And after a while, I'm like, So I said, "Mark, can I have your baggies? Because at home, we wash them ourselves and reuse them." So it got into the habit of he put his sandwich together and he would take his baggies and slap them inside my lunch pail. So I would and then I ended up with all these baggies at home, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do with them? But we really enjoyed our lunchtime because we would talk, and we would talk to everybody at the table, but then he and I would talk also about our families and stuff. So that's one thing I'll always remember.
But ever since I started teaching pre-calc, Mark has really been my mentor all the way through. I mean, we share a board, literally, like my board's here, his board's here. We share a board together. And I can't tell you how many hours and hours and hours we've talked about, like, pre-calc. We've talked about life in general. We've talked about, like, we both love action hero movies, and so therefore we went to movies together, like, and with Mark retiring, like, it's just like a little piece, like, it's just not there. I mean, so I'm happy for him that he gets the time off, but it's sad for me because it's just not the same.
One thing, with Mark coaching the sidelines on the basketball court, with Mark out coaching on the tennis courts, or with Mark teaching in the classroom, Little Miami is definitely a better place because of it. You know, we developed a camaraderie, a trust, a friendship, loyalty to each other, things that I will never forget, memories that I will always treasure. And I just want to say, Mark, love you. Victory.